how your life was when you were married and what your responsibilities were as the woman compared to what his responsibilities were as a man. Can you just describe?
Be thankful for your help, and whatever problems you have, you've got to take it to the Lord.
So fascinating when we were just sitting here at lunch before we started this interview was what you did when you and Grandpa first got married.
People that are friendly, and you grow to love each other.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Tori Kruse Show, where we're shining a light on real conversations and transformational stories with some of the most dynamic entrepreneurs and faith-driven leaders you'll ever meet. I'm Tori Kruse, your host, entrepreneur, virtual stylist, and former Miss Missouri USA, ready to guide you along this exciting journey. This isn't just any podcast. It's your new home for stories that uplift, conversations that transform, and a community that feels like family. From the real challenges to the exhilarating moments of achievement, we cover it all, infused with adventure, laughter, insights, and heartfelt discussions. So settle in, make yourself comfortable, and let's get this show on the road. This is the Tori Kruse Show. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tori Kruse Show. Today's guest is the most special guest that we have ever had on the show. I have my grandma, Vernita Kruse. She turns 100 years old this weekend. Grandma, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome. And I just can't wait to hear all of your wisdom and share it with the world.
Well, I'll try.
No pressure or anything, right?
No, right.
So Grandma, tell everybody what year you were born.
I was born in 1924, May 6th.
May 6th, 1924. And this weekend, so I just flew in from Scottsdale, Arizona, because we're celebrating your 100th birthday tomorrow. How many people are you expecting at your birthday party?
Last I heard, there was going to be like 85 for lunch. And then from 3 to 5, we will have open house for all my church family and friends. So
exciting. So, we actually did an interview when you were 98. And when I called you and I say, Grandma, I'm coming into town for your birthday, of course, wouldn't miss it. And I said, I want to interview you again for your 100th birthday. And you said, well, Tori, I don't know how much has changed, but I think a lot has changed actually.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, so, just in the past 2 years from the last time I interviewed you, you have a new home and a ton of new friends.
I do have. And I'm very thankful for having a nice place to live, and the people are so good to everybody's friendly, and the staff is just great.
Yeah, so great. And so we have to take it all the way back. I mean, we got to walk through this timeline because I even have people who are listening to this show who have asked me questions to ask you. I posted on my social media. You know what Instagram is, right?
Yes, I do.
So I posted on my Instagram and I said, if you had the chance to ask a 100-year-old one question, what would it be? And so all of my friends have been throwing out questions that they would love to know, because not very many people get this opportunity to talk to somebody who has had 100 years of experience in life. And we just had lunch and we were sitting at the table just talking and reminiscing about the years in the past and how much has changed. Going back to your childhood, what would you say is one of the biggest changes that you have seen in 100 years?
Technology, I guess, would be one of the biggest things. And when my mother was 99, she thought the man on the moon was the biggest thing. Well, now there's much more, that's happening in the world that's a lot different than ever before.
Yes, you've seen so much. It's crazy. So going back to when you were a kid, how many siblings did you have?
There were 12 in our family.
Wow.
We had 5 boys and 6 girls, 6 sisters, and me.
And where did you grow up?
We lived on a farm over in eastern Iowa, by Corning and Villisca and that area. And we always lived on a farm until I was probably 12, 13, we moved to Glenwood.
Okay. And then when you moved to Glenwood, how old were you when you moved to Glenwood?
I suppose I was like 12 or 13. I was in 8th. I did my 8th grade in Glenwood.
So one of the most fascinating things that I think is how you went to school, where you went to school. Can you describe to everybody what it was like going to school from kindergarten to 8th grade?
Well, of course, being in a farm, we had country schools, 1-room country school. And those teachers, they only graduated from high school. And they taught, I don't think we had kindergarten. And I think they taught from 1st to 8th grade.
One teacher.
One teacher. But there was probably maybe over 8 or 10 pupils, so
Wow, from kindergarten to 8th grade, there were 10 people.
around that,
So you maybe had one person in your class.
Yeah, one
One or two. Wow, were you friends with the whole class?
I was not very friendly with anybody because I was so bashful.
Really? I don't think anybody listening to this show would guess that my grandma was ever bashful.
I was so bashful when I started to school that I wouldn't talk to the teacher or anybody. And I went every day, and I had been going for 6 weeks. And my brother finally said, if you don't talk to the teacher today, Mother won't give you a spanking, but I will. And I've been talking ever since, I guess.
You talked ever since. So what was that like? I mean, you were in this one room schoolhouse. They couldn't teach you all the same subjects at once. How did that work from kindergarten to 8th grade? The level of education had to be so different.
Well, they would teach one class, and then they'd give that class assignments, and then they'd move on to the next class. And then that's how they kept everybody quiet, I guess.
Wow. And so how did you get to school? What was your transportation like?
Our feet. We walked to school. We lived a mile from home. The school was a mile. And we walked to school.
Did you ever think of anything different, any other way to get to school besides walking? Or is that just how it was?
That's just the way it was. Everybody walked.
And did anybody take horses, donkeys, tractors? You were on the farm?
No, I guess sometimes if the roads were muddy or something, they would take us in a wagon to school. But otherwise, we walked all the time.
Wow. And so what did your parents do for work?
Well, they were farmers. So we raised cattle and hogs and pigs and all the farm animals.
And then when you got done with school, what was that like? Did you go hang out with friends? Did you go work on the farm?
No.
Did you watch TV?
No TV. No. There's one, we always had a radio, but on Saturday night, there was always a program on the radio that was called Pumpkin Valley. And we all sat around in the living room and listened to Pumpkin Valley.
So what was that?
It was just a comic show, I guess. I can't remember, but it was we just always listened to that. So on Saturday night. So that was, but no, we didn't have friends that got together and play or anything.
Yeah.
We just, enough of us to have a ball game, That made our own entertainment.
What was one of your favorite memories that you had with your siblings?
Well, we always had a ball game. We always played softball, I guess it was, rather than baseball. But no, we just made our own fun.
Our family has a lot of sarcasm that's in it, right? We're always joking. We're always trying to laugh. What was the dynamic of your family when you all were living at home as kids?
Wow, I don't really know what that would be. We all just entertained each other, I guess.
Would you say your parents were pretty strict?
Not really. I guess we never got in trouble with much of anything. Everybody had a job they had to do with chores and things. So, no, I don't think they were very strict.
What are just a couple words of how you would describe your mom and your dad separately?
Mom was always busy with baking and cooking and getting the next meal ready. And Dad was always managing the farm and the chores and keeping the boys busy. They were good parents. We never had any problems.
And so as you grew older, I mean, you've seen so much of just like the history and big monumental events in the world. I know a couple of your brothers were in the Navy, right?
I had 4 brothers in the Navy.
Wow. And what was that like when did they get drafted into the Navy?
Yeah, the twins were 2 years older than me, and they got drafted, and an older brother also got drafted. But then there was another brother that was older yet, and he just joined.
Okay.
On his own. But they were all in the Navy.
And so how old were you roughly then?
I was probably 18.
So was that a shock? Because they ended up having to go to California, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then your whole family, or, well, you know, your parents ended up going out there. So
Yes.
what was that like for you being a sibling? Did you have to sacrifice a lot because your brothers went to the Navy? Did your life change in any way?
Well, my life changed before they left because Norman and I got married in 1942 during the war. And he also had a brother that was in the service. But he was 8 years older, so Norman didn't have to go. But yeah, we were married and we had our oldest son when the folks moved to California.
So you weren't living with your parents anymore in
No.
your family?
Mm,
Okay.
no.
All right, now we got to get to the good stuff. We got to talk about Grandpa.
Oh.
How'd he pick up this dime right here? I mean, what was his pickup line, Grandma?
You mean Norman?
yeah, Norman.
Well, we went to high school together. And I didn't really know him, and I knew him, but I never dated him or anything in high school. But after I graduated, then I got a job at a pharmacy where they had a soda fountain. And of course, the kids all came in that soda fountain. We had a little place in the back where they could dance and a Nickelodeon for music. And so he came in there, and of course, I had to fix him his best malted milk, he said. But anyway, we got acquainted in there.
And you were how old?
I was probably 18.
And how old was Grandpa?
He'd be 19. He was a year older.
A year older.
Mm-hmm.
So you were there making his favorite malt.
Well, that's what he always said. I don't know.
And then do you remember when he asked you out on a first date?
Well, actually, I guess the first time, of course, I always had to walk home, after I got off work. So he hung around until I got off work and took me home the first time. And then after that, I guess we just started dating.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What was dating like then? What did you do for fun?
Our favorite thing to do was dance. And so we didn't go to a lot of movies. We did some, but we liked dancing the best. So we always had a dance club during high school. So we all learned how to dance.
What kind of music was popular?
I guess we would call it modern music back then. But jitterbug, I guess some did jitterbug, but we never did. And then when we went to our little town of Mineola, we did polka dancing and waltzes and that sort of thing.
And so you and Grandpa met in Mineola, right?
No, we met in Glenwood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Small town Glenwood, Iowa. Do you have any clue what the population was of Glenwood at that time?
It seems like it was right around 35,000.
35,000
people.
3,500 maybe.
Maybe.
Right? Because now it's maybe around 10,000.
It's grown a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And then so you moved to small town Mineola.
Yeah, where there's 150
Wow.
people. And
150 people.
We just lived a mile from Mineola on the farm. So.
And so when you and Grandpa decided, what did you call it back then? Did you say you were dating, going steady? What was the terminology?
Going steady when when you found somebody you really liked, I guess he was going steady.
How long did you date before you got married?
Oh, probably a year or two.
Do you remember the day that he asked you to marry him?
No, I don't remember that.
But do you remember your wedding day?
Oh, yeah, sure. I remember my wedding day.
What was one of your favorite memories of that day?
It was a beautiful day in the 31st of December, and my twin brothers were home from the Navy, and so we decided pretty hastily to get married because they were going overseas. And so wasn't a very big planned wedding. And there was gas rationing on, and so our family didn't have the gas to come. I had a small wedding.
How many people would you say were at your wedding?
Oh boy, maybe 15.
Wow.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And so by that time when you got married, what year was that?
1943.
And by that time, what was the main means of transportation? How did most people get to?
Well, they all had cars, of course, and nobody was flying in, so.
Yeah.
In fact, the boys didn't even fly in. They hitchhiked from California to come home. And back then, there was no danger in hitchhiking. And people would pick them up and bring them right to the door if they, so they didn't even fly in then.
They hitchhiked all the way back from California.
Yeah.
to Iowa. Mm-hmm. Wow. Was there any story that you remember them telling you that was just unbelievable to think of?
No, they was always happy with the people that stopped to pick them up. They were always nice people.
Don't you think that's a little bit of a testament to just people in the world now where there's a lot of things that we get nervous about or scared of?
Yes.
But back then, there just wasn't that many worries in the world.
No, they were just everybody was trustworthy.
Do you still carry that same feeling with you today where you believe to your core that most people are good and the world is still a beautiful place, even with some of the differences and challenges that have come up?
Well, I don't think that people have trust in each other like they used to. And there's been a lot of changes in that. A lot more crime and stuff that we never used to have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So was there something when, at the beginning of your years, maybe as a child or when you and Grandpa just, started when you were married, just a really funny story that most people maybe have not heard that you used to do that was maybe so, like, somebody would just think it's, wow, like, I can't believe that was how life was then. Now looking back 100 years.
Oh boy, I just don't know, Tori. I can't think of anything right offhand.
You know what's interesting is when I remember staying with you and Grandpa, if Mom and Dad were traveling or something for work. And it was always fascinating. One of the best memories that I have is when Grandpa would be out at the farm and we would jump in the truck with Grandpa's lunch and take him lunch out in the field. And I think that was just one of the best memories that I look back on now and seeing the tractor and how life was. I think people just would be so fascinated to hear how your life was when you were married and what your responsibilities were as the woman compared to what his responsibilities were as a man. Can you just describe what that was like?
The farmers, for some reason, I don't know why it ever started, but the farmers always went to work early in the morning. So we would always have to serve them lunch in the morning. And then which would be coffee and maybe donuts or coffee cake or something. And then in lunchtime, which was our dinner, that was our meat and potatoes and gravy meal. And then afternoon at 3:30 we had lunch again, and then dinner was whatever time they got done working.
Wow.
So,
and did you ever think anything of it? Was that just what you did, or did you have a lot of fun doing that?
no, I always enjoyed it.
One of the things that I thought was just so fascinating when we were just sitting here at lunch before we started this interview was what you did when you and Grandpa first got married and you were a telephone operator.
Yes, that was one of my jobs, was a telephone operator. And when somebody wanted to call, it was long distance from our little town of Mineola to Glenwood. So we never could call Mom and Dad very often because it cost money. And so, but as the operator, there was a board that had all these little plug-ins. And then when somebody called in, this plug would light up and we would put our little plug in there and answer, and they'd tell us what number they wanted, and then we'd put our other plug in that number and give it a ring, and then they'd answer. And there was 3 or 4 that was on the same telephone line, and then of course they listened in on each other's conversation.
So this was called a party line, right?
Yes, that was a party line.
And that's where there are about 4 to 5 different families on it. So then when you would actually have a board in front of you, somebody would call the operator, you would pick up and you'd have to take the cord and put it in this hole over here to plug it in this one over here to get to the exact person. But then it would go to 4 or 5 different people. So then at that point, how did you know which call was for you, and how did you know which call was for somebody else?
Well, you would go to plug it into this line, and whoever you were calling had a number of rings. So if you was calling one person that had 3 rings, and then there would be the other person on the line would have 2 or 4, something, whatever.
What was the funniest conversation you ever overheard that was not for you, but you were eavesdropping on the line?
Well, it wasn't on my party line. It was that I was eavesdropping in the office where this guy was having an affair with another lady, and his poor wife didn't know anything about it. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, he didn't care who knew it, so.
Apparently, if you could overhear it, that was a pretty gutsy move.
Yeah, he knew we would listen because he would tell us, now you hang up. That was a fun thing.
Oh my gosh. he must have, we have to know how this story unfolded. He must have got caught.
Well, his wife wouldn't have cared less. She didn't care.
Well, that's unfortunate. But,
yeah, it was. But he never divorced her, so.
He just kept on the party line.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, I mean, you know, Dad was telling me just last night when he was at college, he would call the operator and say that he wanted to call Mineola 499.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that Mineola 499 would go to your party line. Was that so hard when your kids would go off to college or when they weren't in the house anymore and then you couldn't talk to them for a certain amount of time?
Well, we knew we couldn't talk to them because it was always long distance.
Yeah.
And so, no, we didn't talk to them often.
You know, actually, just tell everybody, how many kids do you have? Girls, boys? And let's start talking a little bit about how large our family is.
Okay. Well, I have 4 boys, Judd and Gary and Greg and Todd. There was 2 years between Judd and Gary. Then there was 4 years between Gary and Greg. And then there was 8 years between Greg and Todd. And they all have beautiful wives, and I couldn't ask for better daughter-in-laws.
I love that. So how many grandkids do you have?
I have 18 grandchildren, and I think I have 26 great-grandchildren, and I have 7 great-great-grandchildren.
Wow. Do you ever just sit back sometimes and think how amazing it is that our family is so large and it stemmed from you and Grandpa?
Yeah, we've just been blessed with so many wonderful kids that we can't complain about a thing.
Besides my dad, he's kind of a troublemaker, isn't he?
No, he was no trouble.
I don't know, Grandma. I remember one time Dad told me a story where he ran his donkey into a barbed wire fence.
Well, yeah, that was a bad deal, but he had, I think, 24 stitches down the side of his arm from that fence. So, and that was the time. I was never a good nurse, and Norman was always there if the kids had a problem with anything. So, of course, Norman took care of that. And I faded on the floor, but Norman took him to the doctor and had all the stitches put in. And now that was one of the hardest things to do was when your kids get hurt.
Yeah. What was it like raising 4 boys?
Well, I don't know how it would be to have 4 girls, so.
That's a good point. But, well, indoor plumbing wasn't really even around for a long time. So I think that's one of the most fascinating stories that you've ever shared is indoor plumbing. What was that like?
Well, it was, we didn't have indoor plumbing until, must have been Greg's, our 3rd child. And that was the hardest part of living on the farm. And, you know, you go with the flow, and that's
no pun intended.
That's what you had to do, so.
So you say you had no indoor plumbing. What did you do?
Well, we had outhouse, and they always had to have that quite a little ways from the house, so they didn't have any odors, and so that's what we used.
So let's say you woke up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. and you had to go to the bathroom.
Well, the boys called it the thunder jug.
The thunder jug.
That was our, I guess you'd call it a pot.
Wow. So you had to go out to the outhouse to use the bathroom every single time. And then as far as taking a shower or taking a bath, what was that like?
Well, we'd always heat our water on the stove, and we had a summer kitchen on our house where we had another little stove to heat water, and where they'd have baths out there, and we had a double tub, oblong double tub, and that's where we bathed.
Wow. And so did you refill the tub every single time, or you just for every single person?
Well, oh no, probably a couple, 3 would take a bath in the same water.
Wow. Is that so crazy to think about now?
Yeah, it was different, so.
Do you remember the very first time that you saw a toilet?
Oh, well, we always had toilets in our home in Glenwood, you know, so that was new for me to be. Again, when I lived on the farm, we had the same thing, but back in, but when we first got married, that was the hardest part of our first years of marriage, was not having plumbing.
Yeah. I'm sure that you really grow close to people when you have to learn how to work around the indoor plumbing situation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So as far as we never really kept going down the road of like the telephones, I think that's so fascinating with the operator and then, now you saw the start of computers and then telephones, car phones, cell phones, the whole thing transpire. What was the next thing that you remember when it came to communication with other people?
Well, I think we didn't do very many long distance calls, say from Glenwood to California. And it was more local. But now, my goodness, I think the most fascinating thing I can see now is that you can talk to somebody from here to China and you can see them, who you're talking to.
Yeah.
I think that's just amazing.
It is amazing. And I mean, I know we've FaceTimed you numerous times, right? And I mean, you and I text.
Yeah.
And just to think about that, even how many years ago, you probably would have never thought that was even possible.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was impossible when I first started doing it now.
How old were you when you first started texting?
Well, I just did that since I've been here, actually.
Really? And do you remember when computers came out for the first time?
No, I don't remember the year, when it was.
Just, do you remember that when computers came out, was it just fascinating that there was this computer that you could do the work on, you could, research, internet? Well, I think the best part of it was keeping our records and things on computer. Okay.
And so.
And when you say records, just
well, your farm records, the prices, and you could always find out from the markets what the prices were and when to sell your animals or whatever you had to do.
So were you pretty heavily involved in the farming business?
I was bookkeeper, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
But Norman we did it together. So,
what was one of your favorite memories? You were really passionate about the farm life, you were helping Grandpa build multiple businesses, right? And ultimately become a successful company or become a successful couple and raise an amazing family. What were some of your most cherished memories of working together with Grandpa?
Boy, I don't know. I guess as we got older and Norman was easing off with his work part of the farming and he started designing houses, new homes, and I guess just working together with that, probably.
Yeah. He was incredible artist. I mean, I remember when I would come over to your guys' house and we'd have dinner and he would always have a new drawing of a home.
Yeah.
And so talented.
Yeah, he loved doing that.
Yeah.
He loved drafting in high school. That's where he got his incentive, I guess, to do it.
Right. So I'm curious, whenever there was a challenging time, I think, the times now have changed so drastically where, a lot of people talk about like the mindset behind a lot of things and how to overcome challenges. Was there anything specifically that you remember where you were having a challenging time and you got through it? Was there anything that you did to overcome something that was maybe hard or challenging in your life?
I guess the first thing would be when we had to leave the farm, when he started designing homes, and then he wanted the boys to come back to the farm, and so we built our first home, and then and the boys, your dad and Judd, both moved back to the farms. It was really hard to move out of the farmhouse into a new home, and although it was good that Gary was going to live in the home, but I think that was the most challenging. Just quit farming, you might say.
To quit farming, you said?
Well, we didn't quit, but we were easing off, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah. What was hard about that part, though? Just the fact of losing that like love and passion that you've been doing for so many years?
Well, no, just a change of your lifestyle. You didn't get up in the morning and hurry off to the field and do the chores and all that stuff. So it was just different.
Yeah. So what did that look like, that transitional time from when you went from the farm to the other home? What was that process like? How did you find your joy and happiness again?
Oh, well, we was happy moving to a new home. And It was a challenge, but it was all fun.
Yeah.
We enjoyed every bit of it.
Where did you learn your glass half full mentality, where you're most of the time always positive or happy, or you look at the bright side of things? Where did that come from?
I don't know. If you're happy with your life, why, what else can go wrong? You know?
Amen. Amen, Grandma.
That's right.
So you and Grandpa had built just a tremendous family of unity and closeness. I mean, we still get together every single Saturday after Thanksgiving, right? For our Kruse Christmas.
That's right.
And there's typically, about 50 of us there?
Yes,
And that's pretty amazing because we live all over the country.
That's right.
Now. And heck, we may even have some that are international at this point. But that just is a true testament to how you and Grandpa, from, the foundation of our family, like you rooted it in such a strong family unity. What are some tips if somebody, is listening and they want to have a tightness in their family like you and Grandpa have created?
Well, first of all, you have to get along. Everybody gets along in our family. And you have we brought up our children to go to church. And everybody, as far as I know, in our whole family are Christian. And you have to have faith. And no, you just love each other. You just got to, I feel like we have a family of love.
Yeah.
And they're all good. We just, I know my older brother said one time, he said, "Isn't it amazing, Vernita? We all got such a big family and we don't have a hoodlum in the bunch." And I said, I guess we never had any problems. So
yeah.
That's,
Wow.
Any that we couldn't figure out ourselves.
Everything is figure-outable.
Absolutely.
But it does. It always, I think, one of the biggest things is that you stemmed and rooted our family in faith. That's one of the most beautiful gifts.
It sure is. It's you got to have faith or you don't have anything.
Yeah.
So you won't be happy if you're not a Christian. You won't be happy.
Couldn't agree more. Everything is rooted in God and
That's
gets us
right.
through the hard times, the good times, and everything in between.
That's right. You want to always be thankful for everything you have. And I think that's, I just thank God every day for everything we have.
I was trying to go through this interview without getting choked up, Grandma, but that right there, that'll get me. But no, I love that so much. And it just like tomorrow too, for when we celebrate your birthday, it's going to be so amazing to see literally people from all over. I mean, we're flying in from all over the country.
I know.
To come in and celebrate. And it's just like, wow, I can't tell you how many people I've had reach out to me here on the show, reach out to me on social media and be like, "Your grandma is 100?" They're like, that is unheard of. And it's such a beautiful gift. And but most of the time, when somebody turns 100, it's not, most of the time they're like, "Oh, well, can she have a conversation?" I'm like, "Can't she have a conversation?" I was like, man, she's incredible. So I'm, everybody asks me, they're like, "What's the trick? What's the trick? How do you stay healthy? How do you stay vibrant? How do you stay joyful? Keep that youthfulness about you?"
I don't know. God's just been that good to me. And you just be thankful your health and whatever problems you have, you've got to take it to the Lord.
So if there's somebody listening and they're like, "Well, I don't know if I have a relationship with God or with church or anything," where would they even start? Would you say they go to church first?
I suppose they would have to start going to church, but if they've been baptized, they're already a child of God, and they just have to be thankful and faithful to the Lord.
Yeah.
So.
And know He always forgives your sins.
Yeah.
And so, as we're not going to wrap up completely here because I have a few more questions to ask you, Grandma, but you've always been a fashionista.
I don't know about that.
Yes, you have. And so, you're known for your vibrant colors, your jewelry. When we were just sitting at lunch, so like your friend Peggy, Peggy said, "You know what? Every single day when your grandma walks out the door, she looks like she's going to celebrate 100 years.
Oh.
Because you have your jewelry on, we were both sharing our love for big earrings." Right?
I guess so. Just don't feel like you're put together if you don't have things match, and I don't know.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's where I get it from.
I hope so.
You're always styling. So throughout the years, there's been, as we're walking through the hallways here, we're seeing photos of different fashion trends. And one of the things you said were, they always come back in style. Is there something that stands out to you of a fashion trend or style that you've seen where you're just like, wow, that keeps coming back?
Well, hats for one thing are back. Didn't use hats for quite a while. When we were first married, everybody wore hats,
Yeah.
But then we kind of got away from them. But I think the hats are coming back. And of course, the style of length of the dresses are up and down. I don't know just what style now, but I don't know. I just was thinking to myself for my birthday party, what is the style for an old woman at 100? And I thought, well, I just got to go with what I like to wear. So
I couldn't agree more. You set your own style, Grandma.
I guess so.
You always look so pretty in the bright colors too. I love what you're wearing. I mean, everybody look at her. If you're watching this on YouTube, look at her accessories that she has on right now. I mean, the beautiful gold chain necklace with pearls on it. Your earrings match perfectly. Your style, and I didn't even style you, Grandma. People probably think that I styled you for this, and I didn't. This is all Grandma. All Grandma right here.
Yeah, it's what I like, and that's what I wear.
Something that I always talk about with the women who I work with, is how important it is to look the part for events because you feel better.
Yeah.
And you show up better. Do you find that to be true?
I guess that's right. Yeah, you like to think you're feeling good. You feel like you look nice. So I don't know. That's just the way it is.
I bet Grandpa liked it too, huh?
Of course he did. Yeah.
I love that. So as we wrap up here, I just want to ask you some of your favorite memories from the past 100 years, where it's been. One thing we didn't touch on is the card club that I think has been such a monumental thing in your life with your friends. How has the card club really impacted your life? And share with everybody a little bit what that even means. They might not even know what the card club is.
When we first got married, my one sister married a friend of ours from Mineola. Also, when we were neighbors next door to each other. And so we were always good friends in high school, most of these card club people. So when we got married, they all lived close, and we just decided to form a club. So we'd meet once a month and play cards. And then our favorite pastime was dancing. And Mineola had a dance hall, and we'd go dancing almost every Saturday night. That was our favorite pastime.
Yeah. I love that. How important do you think it is to create solid friendships in your life?
Oh, absolutely. You got to have good friends, and that just comes natural. I've found out here that if you don't make friends, be friendly with other people, they're not going to be friendly with you.
Yeah.
And it's just very important to have friends.
Yeah, It is. What do you think are some of the things that friendships bring you in life?
They bring you happiness. You're always happy to be with those people that are friendly, and you grow to love each other.
What would you say are just a couple of your core values that you have lived by your whole life?
Well, you can't get too much love in your life, You got to love your kids, and the kids will love you back. And you just, of course, church is the first thing in line, and everything just falls into place.
If there's somebody listening here and, they're really striving for just a very fulfilling, happy, joyful life, is there anything that you would say they could live by in order to be the best person that they can possibly be and the healthiest and happiest?
The Lord says we got to love each other, first of all. And wherever you feel like you can help another person, that brings you closer to the Lord. And I think you got to help each other.
Amen. So we have about probably 100 family members plus who are going to be watching this. What would you like to be known as?
I guess I want to be known as Mom for everybody, and all my siblings and this whole family that's here we're just full of love in our family, and that's all that's kept us together. I think that's what the Lord wants us to do. So keep your faith.
Amen. Well, thank you, Grandma. This has been so amazing.
Yeah.
I said I wasn't going to bring the emotions, but here I am choking up. But I love you so much.
I love you too.
Thank you for coming on the show. It's been such a treat.
Oh, thank you, Tori.
Happy 100th birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. Vernita Kruse, everybody. 100 right here. Love you.
Thank you, Tori. I love you too.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tori Kruse Show. If today's episode inspired you, let's keep the momentum going. For our YouTube family, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're always in the loop with our latest episodes. And for our podcast listeners, your ratings and reviews are incredibly valuable. They help us reach more people and continue bringing inspiring stories your way. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's a growing community of family. Every like, share, and review helps us grow on our journey together, helping us to highlight more impactful stories. Until next time, keep being the light for yourself and others. See you on the next adventure.